Need to improve your club on Ultimate Team? Check out IGGM for safe and reliable coins with the link in the description. Get an extra 5% discount with code NA. What's up, y'all? For this video, we're going to be going over the 4-3-3, the fifth variant that includes that false 9. This is going to be a custom tactic review instead of it being a custom tactic that I created. A member from our Discord, his name is Josh, he created these custom tactics, and I had a lot of fun with them the last week in League. I've said previously that the 4-3-3-5 is my favorite formation in the game, the whole year considered. And if I'm not mistaken, the 4-3-3-5 is, I believe, one of the more common or more popular custom tactics on this page, from 2023 at least. Yeah, for me, it's my favorite custom tactic, my favorite formation to begin with all things considered this year. And this guy, Josh, man, he made some really good custom tactics for them. I was gonna make my own, but I tried this guy's first, and they were really good. If you guys are a little bit skeptical, or maybe like, I'm not sure if I can trust this guy or anything like that, like, for the record, the things that he used for these custom tactics are the same things that I would suggest and I would use as well. It's not like he did anything crazy that isn't common on this channel. But if you guys also want to suggest your own custom tactics for me to try, or if you just want to try any of our custom tactics to begin with that our community makes, you can find our Discord with the link in the description. There should be a chat for a list of tactics. But with that being said, we're going to go straight into the custom tactics real quick. As you can see, my team's right here. A lot of red picks, but yeah. 4-3-3-5, fifth variant, defensive style balance, 30 width, 65 depth. 30 is more narrow than usual, primarily because this custom tactic will significantly prioritize closing down the middle and allowing the center backs the space in between to be as small as possible to make through balls for the other team harder through the middle. But if you're going to play against someone that's playing like a 5 at the back or a 3 at the back, anything, one of those, rat custom tactics, you might have an issue. You might want to turn this back up to 40. But quite frankly, I don't really play against 5 at the back as often as people, would expect. So for me, 30 was completely fine last week in League. I don't think I played a single 5 at the back for what it's worth. I should probably drop 5 at the back custom tactics soon. But yeah, 30 is completely fine. All you really have to worry about is the wider positions if someone's abusing it. But that's not going to be the case for the most part. I found that it was a better idea to prioritize defending the middle than it is the wider position. So 30 is going to be completely fine. And then depth 65, like always, anything between 60 to 70 is always going to be the meta. There's quite frankly minimal difference in between. You can literally put this to 61 to up to 70. You won't notice a difference, to be honest. And then build up play balance with chance creation and direct passing. I'm a huge advocate for the possession chance creation, however, that's only usable for certain formations. And the 4-3-3-5 is just not going to be one of them, primarily because you don't really have that similar structure that you can see in other formations that use a possession playstyle. I found this custom tactic to be way better in the counterattack, and it's a way faster custom tactic than any other custom tactic for what it's worth. So possession is just going to make it slower than it really needs to be. Direct passing is going to be perfect for this. And then 40 width. Now in the original post, he said that he used 30. And 30 is absolutely usable, but as I was playing through it, I realized that really the width that you use, we'll go over the player instructions later, that'll really get into the specifics, but the width that you use will basically like toggle how effective, not how effective, but more so how involved your false 9 will be when you get to the other player's box. And what I mean by that is that currently, like I said, as we get to the player instructions, I'll mention it more in depth, but the false 9 midfielder or striker is going to act more as a midfielder in build-up until you get to the other team's box where, he becomes an actual striker. I set it to 40 instead of 30, which was in the original post, primarily because I noticed that as I turned up the width, the false 9 got more involved as an actual striker. But at 30, that false 9 stayed as a false 9, and then the two wingers in the attack actually converted into strikers. And really, this is your preference because I noticed 30 and 40 is completely viable. There's no stronger version. They're both really good. It's just a matter of what you want your players to do. So if you're using a player like Joselu or something like that, one of those strikers at false 9 that are really strong and have really good defensive stats, I would absolutely just do 30 and let them play as a midfielder. But if you have a striker at the false 9 position that you think is really good and can get involved in the box, maybe they have 5-star skill moves that you want to use or things like that, I would definitely use 40 instead. But like I said, they're both going to be really usable regardless of what players you're using. It's just a matter of what players that you want on the ball. And then 7 players in the box. This isn't going to be a huge deal. I know this sounds like a lot, but it's not a huge deal primarily because when you get to the player instructions, we have a specific list of players that are deliberately instructed to even attack to begin with. So it's not like this is going to be too much for the counterattack. We just want to overload the box like always. Quite frankly, you could set this to 10 if you're making your own custom tactics, and it's not like it's going to be too risky for the counterattack. Like I've said in videos back in the past, this players in the box setting just acts as a limit just in case you do attack with, a player that normally doesn't attack. So let's say like a center back or whatever. So if you're trying to do German crosses or things like that, you would want this setting to be higher than usual. And corners and free kicks are going to be completely self-preference. And then before we go into the player instructions, it's worth mentioning again that these custom tactics are not mine. They were made from a person in our Discord server. And all credit to Josh, man, because these are really good custom tactics. Like I said earlier, if you want to try out other community-made custom tactics, or if you want to suggest your own for me to try, you can find that with the Discord and with the link in our description. Also, I'm really close to 25k, so if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe now. But yeah, going straight into player instructions. You're going to have your left winger. We're going to start there. He's going to be on stay forward, cut inside, get in behind, get into the box for cross, and aggressive interceptions. I think this is the first time I've had custom tactics where every single setting is actually utilized. And that's mostly because of the aggressive interceptions part. I haven't played with this usually, and I'm not sure if this setting even does anything. I feel like EA haven't even coded this part right. But, you know, we decided to try it. And it's on the winger anyway, so it's not like you're going to be sacrificing defensive structure when you enable this. But either way, this formation has a lot of players going up the pitch, so it's a good idea to try it out. But other than that, this player in the build-up will be at a wider position. But then as we get closer and closer to the opponent's box, you're going to notice that this player is going to act as a striker if anything. He's going to tuck himself in between the other team's center back and fullback like normal wingers would. But he's going to be closer to the center back than normal. So this puts him in a really unique position that other custom tactics won't put this player in normally, because due to the lack of an actual striker, this player is going to have a lot more space to venture around and explore in the middle. Especially with the stay forward portion, which makes this player like an actual striker if anything. Think of someone like, I don't know, like maybe Vinicius for Real Madrid basically, who's obviously a left winger, but since they don't have a striker normally, you know, with Bellingham on the team, as we get closer to the other team's box, they get closer and closer to the center of the pitch. And that's always going to be the case with cut inside, getting behind, but since there's no actual striker this time, there's now a lot more space for them to explore, and they'll basically be responsible for a larger portion of the pitch in the final third. So it makes it really fun, to be honest. And then the other winger is going to be on default, defensive support, cut inside, getting behind, get into the box for cross, aggressive interceptions. Now, the exact same thing is going to be happening to this guy compared to the left winger, except the only difference is obviously he's lacking the stay forward portion. And that's mostly because this guy right here, he's going to be responsible for the right side of the pitch. So he's going to be holding a deeper position in build-up. So this guy is not going to be, he's still going to be playing the exact same striker situation, except it's going to be slightly more delayed. So you're going to realize that the left winger is going to be at that striker position way quicker and way more frequently, while this guy is still, he's going to almost like get entering the box later than usual, which I found to be really beneficial because it allows him to, instead of just being marked by a center back the whole time, since he's coming a little bit later, especially in that counterattack, it allows you to have an option in case, you know, your striker and your left winger aren't open. Which is why it's really important you have direct passing with this enabled, because now we're forcing runs, and since the players are coming from deeper positions, especially this right winger, you'll quickly be able to take apart an opponent's team. And then your false 9 midfielder right here, or a striker, I keep confusing the two. You can have him on drift wide, false 9, and that's it. Now for me, Sophia Smith is absolutely perfect for this position, because this player's going to get the ball to their feet really often, so you're going to want a player that's strong enough to operate in the midfield and, you know, counter the press. You're going to want someone that has kind of like that ratty gameplay to them. Now you can use a player like Joselu, which would also be really good for this, especially because he has like 85 defending, which is crazy for a striker, and he can be really good in this position. But my only downfall with him was that he's a little clunky for me, and this player's going to have their back pointed towards the goal really often, so you're going to want a player that can turn really fast, and Joselu might not be that. But just so now that you're aware of that con to begin with, you can still absolutely use Joselu. It's just keep in mind he might be too clunky for you, especially when you have the ball in midfield, since he's going to be in midfield really often. So if you have a player that has like that balance between clunky and strong, but like agile as well, like Sophia Smith, but there's also, you know, players like Lautaro Martinez, or, you know, players that are just strong to begin with, but are still agile, still have 99 dribbling or close to it, then they're going to be perfect at this position right here. And then your two center mids right here, we're going to start with the left center mid. She's going to be on get forward and cover wing. Now the cover wing portion is really just so we want them to cover the left hand side of the pitch, because the left winger won't be doing that, to retain our defensive structure and make sure the left side is handled. But other than that, in the attack, this player is going to act as almost like a half winger, if that makes sense. So think of like an attacking number 8, and in the scenarios where the left winger is not, you know, cutting inside just yet, this player is going to make a straight run right in through the middle. So really in the attack, you're going to have like a wall of like 4 or 5 attackers that you have an option to pass horizontally to. And this card and the left winger are going to be basically like kind of like going hand in hand with their runs. So you're going to have a lot of link up with this player and the left winger, as well as striker as well, because that striker enables this player to get the ball and make a lot of good AI movements. So when the striker receives the ball and they have their back turned to goal, this player is going to be making a lot of good movements, especially going forward. Now, me personally, I was a little bit brave, and quite frankly, I don't really have good cams. So I went with Trinity Rodman. She doesn't really have good defensive stats, but like I said, I'm too brave to use players with good defensive structure or good defensive stats at midfield. Like I remember earlier this FIFA, I was using Zico at stay back center mid, so I don't really have an issue with using low defensive stats in midfield. But for you guys, I would recommend you guys get like a cam or a center mid that has really good attacking stats as well as well-rounded defensive stats. So players like, Odegaard, De Bruyne, Toni Kroos, or probably not Toni Kroos, he might be too clunky. Really just any sort of cam that has at least 60 defending, they'll be good enough right here. And then for your right center mid, it's going to be the exact same thing, except stay back while attacking and cover center. Now this player won't literally be staying back because of, the actual CDM being there. It's going to hold a position to kind of like link the midfield with the wingers in the attack. So he's going to be like, he won't like literally be staying back with the center mid. He's going to be a little bit higher than usual. But stay back while attacking just basically prevents this guy from just bombing the box over and over and over again. So he acts more as like a playmaker, if anything. Now, really, you should be using a box-to-box like Josh suggested. But like I said, I don't really have good box-to-box midfielders in my club. And I have no issue playing with players with low defense, so Dybala for me works perfectly fine here, and if you're brave like me, you can do the exact same thing. But it's Dybala for what it's worth, so his playmaking is really good. He has really good passing stats, so he'll manage. And then your CDM, your classic CDM, balanced defense, stay back while attacking, cover center. There's nothing too crazy about this card right here, or sorry, this position right here. His only job is to just help the defenders, the center backs in specific, so there's not much detail to this card. And then our left and right back. Now for me, I put them on balanced attack overlap, both of them, but the original custom tactics have them set to stay back while attacking overlap. And quite frankly, you guys should be using them on stay back while attacking overlap as well, because you're just going to have a lot of attacking options regardless. So you don't really need the fullbacks at all in this formation. But for me, I usually play with attacking fullbacks regardless because it's like a mental thing going into a game. If I can score like 2-3 goals within the first 10-15 minutes and the other player sees I have like attacking fullbacks, they're just going to assume that I'm going to keep scoring. So I really just do that in the hopes that the other player will rage quit faster when they see my attacking fullbacks, and then they're like, yeah, this guy's going to score way too many goals, I'm just going to rage quit. That's why I do it. But for the sake of stability and just being fully confident with your attack and defense all together, you're probably better off putting them both on stay back while attacking, like the original post suggests. And having them on stay back while attacking isn't going to mess up the structure to this attack at all. It won't at all, like in any custom tactic what it's worth. But for me, I just want the mental benefit of having attacking fullbacks, so I have them both on balanced. But yeah, like I said, personal preference, so up to you. And then obviously your two center backs, they're going to be on stay back while attacking. And then your keeper, I stopped messing with the keeper instructions, so you can leave them on bounce as well. If you're looking for custom tactics that are like actually different for once, I highly suggest you guys try this one because it really makes the game look a lot more different than it actually is. And I try to do that with my custom tactics because, quite frankly, I can't imagine playing the 4-3-2-1 every single week, every single time. All it does is make you feel like you're playing the same game over and over and over again. And if you're really like rejuvenating your experience and, having your gameplay feeling different every single week, then I highly suggest you start with, custom tactics like these that are really different and they offer a completely different attacking structure while it's still really good in the attack and defense. I'm also having a lot of fun with using the false 9 custom tactic, player instruction. It's honestly really underrated. I can't imagine why people aren't using this custom tactic, this player instruction. It always manages to drag players out of position on the other team, and once those players are dragged out of position, your players on your team are going to be making even better runs, especially if you're playing against players that are really sloppy with the defenders, dragging center backs out of position, things like that. It really just makes the amount of runs your teams are making way more often. But other than that, in terms of other custom tactics, I do have a 4-5-1 second variant in the works, and I'm feeling really good about it. And then I'm working on a 4-4-2 right now as well, which I'm probably going to drop first because 4-4-2 is a really easy custom tactic for what it's worth to make good custom tactics with, so I'm not really worried about that. I'm also just waiting for the patch, I believe, that's probably coming really soon. The gameplay patch is probably going to mess up custom tactics for a bit, so I gotta wait for that to come out and make sure the custom tactics still work there, which I'm not too worried about, but it's always good to make sure. But after the patch, I'm probably going to work on a 4-3-2-1 and then make sure obviously the 4-5-1-2 that I made is still going to be reliable post-patch. But yeah, that's my situation so far. And other than that, if you like these custom tactics or you want to see more custom tactics like these, Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. Join our Discord if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. But other than that, that's all.